Happy Thursday. I feel like it's forever since I have been in front of y'all because of all the crazy weather we've had in Houston and knocking out power and storms. But I have a awesome author for you guys tonight. She's been on here before, so we're gonna talk with her. Let's see. Yep. I see your request. I keep accepting it. Hello.
Hello. Trying to fix my camera.
And I had to do all that, and it takes me like 5 minutes. So welcome to Let's Go Live. I'm Gigi Mara, and I have with me Dark and Spicy Romantasy author Kris Woods. Welcome, Kris.
Hello.
I'm so glad to have you back. I was looking back, and oh my gosh, I was like, weren't we just on together? And that was a lie. This was like February.
Yeah. It was not that long ago.
No, man, I tell you, girl, these months are going by so fast, and I have deadlines that I'm trying to increase my volume. I have deadlines that are just, I'm having a hard time meeting.
Yeah, same. On my next book in the fall, got me a little nervous. I'm not. I mean, it's in the fall too, but it's still just like, I don't know. That one might need some more work. I don't know.
Well, congratulations, because 4 days ago you released your second book in the Fate of Love series, Will You Grant Me Tomorrow? And I love that title.
Thanks. Yeah, the ebook is out. I'm in timeout with Amazon because I accidentally posted a book and then deleted it. And it was like, no, you can't do that. So now I can't do pre-orders for a little while. I'm almost out of Amazon timeout, and then I can do pre-orders.
Girl, I feel we all make that mistake with Amazon. Like every author I know has had their pre-orders canceled because it's something that, I don't know, they lock up your book for 72 hours and then you think, okay, well, I'm in with the deadline, and then all of a sudden they like just cancel it and you're like, oh.
Yeah, so I can't do pre-orders, so I went ahead and did the ebook. I try to post it a couple days in advance, mostly for my ARC readers, so they have somewhere to post reviews. But yeah, the paperback comes out Saturday.
Okay, well, that's just 2 days doing the same week. That's not bad at all.
Yeah, I'm so excited for it. I like this one. He's my first bisexual character.
Ooh, okay, yeah. We'll get into that for sure. Yeah. So how has release week been for you?
So far, it's been really good. I've gotten a lot of positivity from my ARC readers. See, one of them compared, so it's the brother of the main guy in book one.
Yeah.
And so one of my readers compared the two brothers to Vampire Diaries.
No way.
It was, yeah, Klaus and Elijah Michelson, I don't know how you say their name. It's been probably a decade plus since I've seen Vampire Diaries. So
I know, but what a huge compliment, right?
No, right? I was like, wow, like I never thought of it. And then when like the wheels started turning, I was like, oh, well, now I can't unsee the relationship with it. So
did I write fan fiction Vampire Diaries and I didn't know it?
Yeah. Oops. No. No. Oopsie daisy.
That's so cute. Okay, so he was your first bisexual character to write. Tell me what that experience was like.
A lot of research, which a few of it my husband walked in on and was like, what are you doing? I was like, nothing.
Nothing to see here. Keep going.
Nothing. Yeah, so it required some research, but mostly into reading. So I got into reading a lot of like gay books or just any queer edition of books, you know, like multiple men or, you know, men and woman, and then men, man, woman, you know, like all that stuff. And so
all the combinations.
I tried try looking into all the combinations, and like I got addicted into that like kind of genre of books. And I was like, all right, let's do this. So he's kind of my like introduction into that realm of books, because I have a lot more coming for that in that world. So it's kind of exciting.
Oh, okay. So will other characters be on the LGBTQ like spectrum?
Yes. So I have book 3 is going to have the lead character is gay, and then he meets the female lead, and he's like, oh, actually, she's not so bad. And then so I guess he is bi, but like only for her.
Oh, okay. Yeah, there
Yeah.
are some that are like that I've read.
Yeah. And so it's like his kind of it's like a bi awakening, but like backwards. So he's realizing that, oh, like, I really like her. So it's that was really fun to explore. And then I have some more books and series that will feature a lot more on the spectrum. I have one, see where I'll have an asexual character in an upcoming book I'm working on. And then another one, think I'm leaning towards pansexual for another series. So it's kind of exciting to adventure into it.
Oh, no, I think that's fascinating. I do read most, any, or all. I don't, have a bias against, any of that, any combination of partners. However, I find it daunting because I want to do, when I write, you want to make it like, realistic and authentic. And so am I comfortable writing that in my own books? Not yet. Do I want to? Totally. Am I fascinated? Yeah. Definitely. But I'm just like, oh, I'm going to need to do this right.
Yeah, that's why I started reading the books first. And then I wanted to make sure I was doing it right. And then, I started doing the research first, and then to make sure that I use terminology correctly, and like, you don't want to insult anybody. And
no. Yeah, and you don't mean to, like, and sometimes we're just more, I hate to say this word, but ignorant of the fact. And I don't like that, so that's why I do read it. I'm just not like qualified yet.
Yeah. My brother was gay, and then I have a huge like a lot of my friends are. So like I've asked them questions to the point where it's like it's not insulting when I ask them because they know me.
Oh yeah, my sister, she's been, gay her whole life, obviously, and so she had this like big coming out moment, and I was like, I already know, I was 14 and we weren't having the same fantasies in adolescence, like she was fantasizing about women, me men, and so I was like, girl, I already know, you just have to tell mom and dad.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember when my brother came out, it was a big thing.
Yeah, and then my parents were like, well, we already knew, because I had kind of already told them, like, hey, haven't you ever clicked to some of the things that are going on, and so I was like I don't share a bed with my best friend, but she does.
Yeah.
And so my parents didn't, when I told them, and so they had known almost about a year before my sister and her girlfriend at the time came out, and so it helped. She said she appreciated me telling them, so because it's a big, huge deal.
Yeah.
And we were raised Lutheran, which is a slice off of Catholic, and all that rhetoric, right? Yeah. And so
I was raised Southern Baptist, so that was like a huge, that was a big deal. So I get it. When my mother figured out what kind of books I write too, that was whoo. That was interesting.
Yeah. And so now, so I have, she gets all of it. And then there's a group of us, a dinner party that's called Cougar Cubs and Gays. And so I always dive deep with all my friends that are gay. And you're like, you've asked so much. You're just like, I know more about their sex life than I should,
Yeah, yeah.
but that's okay. I think one day I'll incorporate it in, and then I'll be a better author when I finally write it.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I like your writing though.
Thank you. It's just, I try to be authentic to the characters and what feels natural to what they would do. And so, I don't know. I mean, I do have a couple gay characters in my Canyon series. I don't have any in my Cougars and Cubs, but I feel like one is coming, like definitely a bisexual.
That
Because I want
was
to do white Jews.
I read Hamilton,
Yeah.
and I'm in love with Hamilton. By the way, he was wonderful.
Girl, I gotta send you Isla because it's my latest one. It released in April, and it is.
Yeah, it's on my list. I gotta actually. I saw Hamilton because I love me a good like first responder cop like romance, and so I jumped into the series halfway through. So I gotta go back and do Tomlin first. I think.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. Yeah, because you'll meet Isla then, and Tomlin is always free, so that's nice.
Yeah, I saw. Oh, I met Isla in Hamilton's book a little bit, and then her, I guess, fathers are, would be the gay characters.
Yeah,
But
so,
they were cute. I liked them.
okay, so they're based on like my really dear friends, and so in their relationship, you have one that's like super pragmatic, and then I have one that's just like the freest little free bird ever. And he is Eli, and that's who you meet. But I thought in her character arc, she's been so abused by many men in her life that I thought it doesn't need a woman to save another woman, but if I had two gay fathers in a beautifully loving relationship, they can be the ones to heal the wounds caused by other men.
I like that. That's really beautiful.
Yeah.
Very poetic.
Thank you. But anyway, let me not commandeer this talking about my stuff.
Oh.
We should be talking about
Well, that's okay. I like talking about your stuff too.
Okay, so where did you get the title, Will You Grant Me Tomorrow? I love that title.
Thank you. That series is probably my favorite names of all my books. So it's the first book is Will You Love Me Forever?
I know. I love that naming convention.
It's very appropriate. And so that one just like hit me out of the blue. It just like it fell into it. And so then I wanted all the books to start with like Will You? And then it kind of like stemmed from there. And I went through a couple versions of it, and my husband made fun of all of them.
I don't know if that's a good thing because you nailed it, because I'm sure your husband is not your target audience, or if it's a bad thing and you have to go back to the drawing board.
Well, it was just the title at least, so it wasn't like I was starting over with the books. He is where I bounce all ideas off of before I even write anything down. And some of the stuff he's like, I don't know. I guess that sounds good.
That is so sweet that he's a supportive hubby, though.
Well, sometimes he's like, all right, time out, babe. Like, we have to talk like bills, or we have to talk like something practical first.
Reality and life.
Yeah. And then you can go off and talk books. And like in car rides, if we're ever traveling anywhere, he'll be like, talk to me. And then I just yammer around about books. And
that is so stinking cute, though, because I
keep him awake.
I don't know, like I said, I don't know too many men that are just like, just talk to me. Because normally guys are just like, oh, she's talking to me again.
Well, I mean, it's like with the kids in the back seat, or like, he just to stay awake, not worry about traffic. He lets me talk about my books. But yeah, the title just, it took a couple of iterations, but I think, so I don't know where it eventually came from. I think I was trying to play on, so he's an immortal warrior in the book. And so I was trying to play on the like long-term, he has many thousands of years in his life, to try and play on that. So I think, yeah, that's where the tomorrow came from. Are you willing to stay by his side for lots of tomorrows?
So do you have the third book title yet? The one coming out in the fall?
Well, that one's not going to be in the fall. So it's I'm alternating releases with my other series.
Oh, the Immortal Travelers, right?
Yeah, the Immortal Traveler. That's what I was on here for last time. Was for that series.
Yep.
And so, yeah, it'll be Immortal Traveler will come out in the fall, and then book 3 of Fated Love will come out probably do late winter-ish, so of next year. But it's called, what is that one? Will You Run From Me? And it's an enemies to lovers book.
That is genius.
Yeah,
oh
I like
gosh,
that one. That one hit me too. Book 4 is Will You Claim Me? So it's my first, it's my first adventure into the Omegaverse.
Oh, okay. Yeah, there's some authors that I'm doing an anthology with that are doing the Omegaverse.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah, so he's a shifter, and it's like insta love, but it's also an age gap because he's in his 40s and she's like mid 20s.
Oh, does she know? Is she immortal too, or just him?
She is too,
Okay.
but it gets into the family a little bit. So yes, she is. So it's all about the one family. And so in book 1, you meet the main guy, and then in book 2, you meet his brother. Book 3 is his son. Book 4 is his daughter. And then in the prequel, we get to meet his biological parents.
Okay, so that is 5 books in that series.
Yeah, so it'll be 5, because my husband told me I needed a actual limit, an actual number, because he likes the series, but he's also like, well, I mean, you got like a million other ideas. You should probably have like a stop, because an immortal family can literally go on forever.
Well, that's what I was thinking too. So that's on the Fated Love series. So what about your Immortal Travelers?
So Immortal Traveler, I currently have plans for 9 books. Plus, I have 3 spinoffs already. Maybe more, depends on how the series goes. That's a lie, 4 spinoffs.
So you're talking 13 books just in that series?
At least, yeah.
Okay.
We'll see how the spinoffs go.
We're going to break down, and we're going to get tactical here, because when people hear that, they're just like, whoa. So how do you do that? How do you plan 9 books? How do you have 4 spinoffs? Where do the ideas come from? Is it like a clan, or just walk us through your thought process and how you come up with that? How do you know that?
So my thinking is, so the Immortal Traveler is around one woman. So it's the Archangel Gabriel, actually. And so she's immortal. And so she travels, through time. And so my thinking with 9 is that, so in each book, on each cover, I have one of her tattoo markings. So she has markings all over her. And so on each cover, I want to show each of her markings, and she has 9. So that's where the number 9 came from. I actually only have semi-solid plans for 6 of them. So there's somewhere in the middle, because I know where I want it to end, and then I've got the first 4 to 5-ish planned.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so is each mark on her body its own book telling the story of how she got it?
No, it's more just like, so it goes through time. And so eventually we're going to end up, the final book is going to be kind of future-ish, but there won't be dates on it. So we don't know exactly when it will be. So it'll end, because it's religious overtones. It'll end with the 4 horsemen.
Oh, dang.
Yeah.
Okay, that sounds super interesting.
Yeah, so I haven't decided if they're going to each get their own spinoff, or if they're going to share a spinoff. So I don't know where I don't know where I'm going with them.
If you could do 4 spin-offs, even if they're like novellas, maybe they don't have to be the same length as the main
Most of my
series.
spin-offs have been novella
Yeah,
length, yeah.
yeah, but if you had each individual horseman, that would be so cool.
Yeah, so my thinking with it is because I was reading one interpretation of it is they needed a 5th horseman. And so I'm going to have in the book where they try to convince her to join their side.
Oh,
And so she essentially is the 5th horseman, but she ends up talking them out of their own quest, and refuses to basically kill off the humans, who she's been sworn to protect for millions of years. So like that'll, yeah, but she doesn't know she's the 5th horseman. And so it's going to kind of go through them convincing her about how awful humans are.
okay. I love when characters don't know that they are the source or they are the one,
Yeah.
right? It's kind of like the Matrix. We all love that. We're on the journey with him. You're like, what? Who is he? I mean, we love finding out as they find
Yeah.
out.
And she does that some in her books. So in the earlier books, in book, which one is it? Book 3. It's 3 or 4. I can't remember exactly which one it was. We get to see kind of like her relationship closer with her family, with the other archangels and stuff. And it starts kind of explaining how they do things and where does she fit into the overall grand scheme of things. So it's kind of a fun twist because she's learning it too. She had no clue. She just was like, tucked her head and did her job. And that was it.
So how do you know? Because you have what, 3 books published in that series?
Well, so Immortal Traveler just has the one for now. I have written,
You have 5.
4 of them are done. Yeah.
I think you have 5 titles, right?
I have 4 currently published.
Okay.
1 is Immortal Traveler, 2 are Fated Love, and 1 is just a standalone.
Oh, okay. Because I thought it was 2 and 2, so you were even. Well, actually, I thought it was 3 and 2. So okay.
Yeah.
So if you have 1 published, how do you? And you know the end, and you know about this. The 4 horsemen maybe getting their spinoffs. How do you know, or how would an author, a new one who's starting out to try and plot a series? Because 9 series are already daunting for new authors, but then to come out and say I have 9. How do you know? How would authors know that?
I originally wrote her story thinking it'd be its own universe. I got the idea. It's the Dark Hunter series by Sherilyn McKinnon.
Yeah, I've heard of it. I haven't read it.
Oh, they're wonderful. That's was really what got me into the like dark romantasy world. She does a wonderful job of, so every book is a different like couple, and then but it builds the bigger picture of her world. And that's where I got the idea for Gabriel. So I mean it's centered around one person though, but she has this whole universe basically that she builds. And the nice thing about her is that so I get to like visit all the other different types of religions around the world too. And I've done research to like Japanese religions and Russian religions. And one of her spinoffs we actually is a prequel where I dive into one of the Native American stories. And so when I went in, I assumed, okay, there'll be a handful of books, maybe a few spinoffs for characters that, I just fall in love with and they need their story told.
Exactly.
And then when I started designing the covers with my cover designer and we put the symbol on it, I was like, oh, how cool would it be to have all of the books laid out? It would have all of her symbols on them. And then I counted her symbols, was like, oh snap, that's 9. I might need to rethink this. But I was like, oh, 9. 9's a good big number, but I mean, she's immortal. She can literally go through time. Yeah.
do you have it mapped out like in Excel or in Google Docs to organize like what book would have like what tropes or what themes or what needs to happen?
Um, I have a Google Doc. I typically don't know the tropes when I start. Uh,
You learn
I
as you
start,
go.
yeah, I have a rough idea a lot of times, like here's kind of my end goal of the book. And then it's like, oh, okay. Like, okay, here's some of the tropes that it turned out to be.
Yeah.
Not going and intending to write them that way. There's only been a few books I've had that ended up that way. Like, so book 3 in Fated Love, I went in knowing I wanted enemies to lovers. And so it was really hard to write them hating each other at first. Like, I didn't realize how hard it was.
That's the fun part. I write that really well. It's just the like falling, like it's the crossing over, and I'm just like, dang it, I want them to keep fighting.
Yeah, I'm not good at the fighting part. Like, I'm much better at the insta love.
At the insta. Well, so that's what I was thinking is because if you have, 9, you have this humongous series arc, but yet each book has to have its own individual arc.
Yeah.
That's challenging. How do you do that?
I mostly make it up as I go. I have one of my best friends reads my books all the time, and she's also an author. And sometimes she'll read it and she'll be like, there's no arc. Like, like why are we reading the book? And so it's like, okay, let's talk it out, pause. Cause she usually, I like to have her read the first maybe 5 to 8 chapters. Cause I always feel like the first 5 to 8 is the most daunting.
Yeah.
Cause you got to set everything up. You got to build, like, why am I writing it? Why do I need you to read this story?
Yeah. Where are we going?
Yes, where are we going? Not just like short term, like what's the big plan here?
Yeah.
So it's been kind of fun, working through that, trying to figure it out. So some books I go in, like I said, it's just like, okay, there's no point in this other than I need to get from point A to point B. But okay, so I got to pause and rethink some of them, which is partly where I'm stuck in book number 5 because I've written 1 through 4. I've only published 1 though.
Dang, girl. Okay, so
I like to sit on them for a while.
How long does it take you to write? Well, how many words do they end up being, and then how long does it take you to write them?
See, book 1 is 120,000 ish.
Oh, thick.
Yeah. Yeah. I got her.
She's a thick one.
Look at the size of this thing.
Okay, but your covers are beautiful. Let me see.
I know. I'm in love with this one.
Yeah.
I'm in love with all my covers.
Yeah.
But yeah, so she's thick. But so I think book 2, it's with beta readers right now, and it's looking at in the 100,000 range. So they have steadily gotten a little bit smaller, but then some of them I think book 4 is probably the same size as book 1.
So in that 100 to 125,000 words, and then how long does that take you? I mean, I'm amazed that you have 4 done, you're writing the 5th, and you only have 1 published.
Yeah. It depends. Let's see. So I wrote book 1 was the second book I ever wrote. So I wrote the site first, and then I wanted to tell Gabriel's story. She's actually the reason I got into writing. She was my invisible friend, an imaginary friend growing up. And so I wanted to tell her story. And so I just started writing it. And the first draft was 60,000 words. But like I was
not fitting the genre norm for romantasy though.
No. But it was also, so I mean, it lacks like deep emotion. The story was broken in places, and it was just not great. But I had words on a page, and so that one it went through several iterations. where, you know, my author friend was like, okay, no, we need like a purpose. You can't just have the reader go, well, this is how it is. No, that's not allowed. You have to have like a reason for things.
Yeah.
So that was a lot of like learning the hard way how to build like a magic system and how to do world building. And then with the series this size, you have to make sure that you don't break your rules. And then the nice thing the hard thing with nice and hard thing, I guess, is because it's set in our world, not a fantasy world.
Oh, yeah.
Well, so book 1 is a fantasy world, and then she comes back into our world. And so it's trying to do justice with the historical stuff, which also required a lot of research.
Well, and like our laws of nature that you can't violate.
Right.
Yeah.
And so it was fun to try and like write that and figure out how she fit into it. And then one of my beta, like I thought I had it buttoned up and it was real good. And I sent it to a beta reader and she was like, wait a second. This doesn't make sense from book 1. I was like, dang it. All right, hang on. Let's talk this out. And then I had to rewrite like half a chapter or something to like explain it.
Okay, but writing half a chapter is not bad by the time it goes out to betas.
Yeah. So that was nice. It turned out that my beta reader had an ulterior motive. She wanted me to bring back a former character. And I was like, no, I'm not bringing someone back from the dead.
He was sabotaging you. That's hilarious.
Yeah. So, but I mean, she found a hole in my magic system. And so I had to explain it in a way so that the reader isn't going, wait a second, well, why don't just bring back this lovable character?
No, I love betas because, we're too close to our work and you're like, plus it's all in our head and you're like, I mean, I already answered all that. I covered it. And they're just like, no, you didn't. In your head you did, but not on paper.
Yep. Yeah, that's what my alpha reader does. And she's like, why did she do this? Like, I don't know. That's just what she does. Like, no. You got to explain it.
Did you find this author friend through while you were on your author journey, or was she already your friend before you started? Because I know that new authors are always looking for support and resources and help.
I found her when I first started writing. I posted the site on Inkit, which is an online writing platform, and she was on there, and we decided to read each other's books for feedback.
Oh, critique partnering.
Yeah, and so it just started on there, and she butchered it. The site was terrible with its rough draft. It was really bad. And then, I read hers. It wasn't complete, so I gave her some feedback. And then we just got to talking, and I was like, "Hey, can I send you Gabriel's story?" And she was like, "Yeah, of course." And so that's where the rest is history. So we've just been best friends ever since.
Oh, that is awesome. So Inkit is kind of like Wattpad, and there's another one I can't think of the name. It starts with an R.
Radish? Is that it?
Radish, that's right. So it's
a newer one, I think.
Yep, you should. And I think that one's for also spicy, where you can kind of get away.
Inkit's big about they advertise constantly where they support all taboo and spice levels, and it doesn't matter. They don't care.
Yeah. So that's where, for those of you that don't know, it's an online platform where you can go and read and, comment on each section. And, it's great. I love this. I've had a lot of authors on here that post on there, try out their works to see what works, what doesn't, if it resonates with the characters, with the readers, if they're trying kind of a new series, or they're trying a new genre, they're trying outside their writing style. So it's really nice, kind of like a free playground. Obviously your work isn't paid for, but it's for as an author, you can test out.
They do now. They have a subscriber system.
That is true. If
Yeah.
your works are good enough and you get enough comments and interest, yeah, you can be like one of the paid people.
Yeah. Well, and now you can set up, just anybody can set up a subscriber system. And so people can subscribe to certain books or posts or whatever it is if you want. I mostly used it as like an alpha reader platform.
Yeah, that's cool.
And so, yeah, so all of my Fated Love was posted on there. I actually have a few chapters of the prequel on there, but I only have them posted after I started publishing. I only put them like the completed rough draft for like 2 months, and then I took it down because now it's like, ooh, now I want you to go like buy it.
No, but I think it's great because if you don't have a robust budget, that's another way that you can, try and make money and test out different things. And yeah,
Gabriel,
I love that.
Was tested on there too. I had the first couple of her books on there, and they did really well. So I was excited.
You do have to have thick skin because sometimes the comments can be brutal.
Sometimes they are, but sometimes it's just like you see page reads and then it's like nobody said anything or nobody posts a review or like comments on anything. And it's like, did you like it? Did you not like it? Like, I mean, the point of being here.
Back. Yeah.
I would like something.
So how do you think your writing style has changed? Now you have 4 published works. You have, I don't even know how many you have actually written.
I think I'm on 12.
12 books written. Wow. Very proficient. So what has changed? As you continue to write, what changes?
So for me, I think the emotions gotten better. And instead of just like writing, oh, he's angry, right? I mean, okay, anybody can read that, but like, what are all the other things? Like if he's angry, like, are his nostrils flaring, is like, the muscles in his jaw kind of like jumping around, is, his brow furrowed, like how is his posture? How's his breathing? Like, so, sorry, I kicked the table. And so I think I got better at describing the emotions and so instead of just saying it, I got better at the show, not tell. So I feel like I got better at that. And so it has allowed readers, and I've been told by a lot of readers that they feel all of it as they read through it, which is wonderful because that's what you want. Yeah.
So, and I know emotional reaction, it's like a formula, right? So you have to have so much dialogue, you have to have so much scene setting, narrative, and then you get to the emotional reaction. And so it's always like, okay, well, if they say this, are they moving? Is it a dialogue tag? Is it emotional reaction? Is it action beat? It's so, to me, like you have to work on your formula. And I know there's tons of books out there that tell you what to do, but you have to kind of figure out your own way that's authentic to you.
Yeah, you got to find your own voice, your own tone. And with what's been interesting, so the Fated Love series is written in third person, but it's not like, and I've been critiqued heavily by it some, but like, so it's not just like third person, but okay, you have his perspective this chapter and then her perspective next chapter. It's, you have a universal perspective in every situation. And so it avoids repeating, kind of like, I don't know if you've seen, some authors will like repeat like at the beginning of a new chapter, they'll repeat some of the stuff from the previous chapter.
Yeah, I don't like when they'll do like one scene, 2 different viewpoints.
Yeah.
I want it to be like, my scene and then your scene. And so you're picking up where I leave off. I don't want to go back and
Right. Yeah, and I've known a lot of authors who do that, and some do it fairly well, actually, but I didn't want to do that, so I squished them into one. And so, like, and that was also interesting. My author friend also helped me, like, she, you know, I broke it up. So it'd be like one paragraph would be his perspective, and then the next paragraph would be hers.
Oh, okay.
And so sometimes it'll be like a blob of paragraphs are his, and then she gets like 2 paragraphs.
Mm-hmm.
So it the way it bounces back and forth. And some people are like, I love this. I got to know every character. Like, I fell in love with every character. And then others are like, that's confusing. I have no clue who's saying what.
Oh, yeah. Like, what's going on?
Yeah. So I had some that were confused and some who just like absolutely loved it. So I don't know. It is what it is, I guess.
Okay. So on the Immortal Traveler, series, do you write that same way?
No, I put it in first person. So I wanted it to be, because it's all about her, and so it's really her perspective on everything. The first book actually it starts off in his perspective. So she is the woman in the forest, and he finds her. And his name is Einar. He's a druid, or half druid, half enchanter, monster hunter. And so he's traveling in the woods and finds her. So it's his perspective, and then we get to see her perspective. And then like it's broken into parts. So like part 1 is all him, part 2 is all her, part 3 I think is all him, and then 4 is like it goes back and forth.
Yeah.
So it's first person, and so that series is all in first person, but like book 2 is all her perspective. Book 3, I think it has like 4 or 5 like point of views in it, as you start to like more characters get met. So yeah, it's first person.
Okay, one, mad respect, because that is extremely difficult. You're talking about, you write not only in dual POV and multi POV, you're also writing in 2 totally different styles. You know, one is first person, the other one's like third person, omniscient?
Yeah, I think it's technically third person omniscient.
And so that is crazy to me. I mean, crazy good, because I don't know how you do it. So tell us how you do that, because there's been so many authors on here that write one way, and we talk about writing a different way, and they're like, I can't do it. There's no way. My brain doesn't work that way. I don't think that way. And here you're like, I do it all.
I don't know why. I don't know why I wrote it that way. Because so I wrote The Sight and then Woman in the Forest. They're both first person. And then I wrote Will You Love Me Forever? And it's that third person omniscient. And for some reason, that was just the way it started, the voice that it created. When I first started writing, I liked that kind of, it's almost like an outside narrator.
Yeah.
And then also they're narrating, but from the out, like it's hard to describe.
Complicated. Very complicated.
And so it took me a while to get the hang of it. And sometimes when I bounce back and forth between that series and literally anything else I write, which is all in first person, I will sometimes end up switching. And so I'll have the random chapter in like the Immortal Traveler world, and it's like third person. It's like, wait a second. Oops. Let me rewrite that whole chapter.
Well, I was going to say, because are you writing these at the same time? I know that you said you have 12 written, but it's
sometimes
like, oh my gosh, girl, you're blowing my mind. I thought maybe you like dedicate this many months to first person, this many months to third, and you're like, oh no, I just, like I'm mixing it up in a recipe.
Yeah. So the way my brain works and the way I've always done my writing is I don't force it ever. And so I found whenever I do try to give myself some ridiculous deadline, then I have to force it, and then the writing is not as good. And my author friend, whenever she reads it, she's like, you forced this chapter, didn't you? Like,
oh, dang.
I was like, how did you know? And she's like, it's like, there's no emotion in it. It's just literally facts. It's just like the scene and the talking. And I was like, oh yeah, I totally forced that chapter out. Yeah. And she's like, it's really boring. And so it's like, oh, oops. So I've had to force myself not to force it. And so what I normally do is I actually have multiple projects at once. And I don't know how to describe it. It's just wherever my brain happens to be at that time, that's the one I work on. So currently I have I have 3 works in progress right now. Plus I'm working on I've got one book and beta readers. I got another book with an alpha reader. And I'm working on a second draft and another book. So it's like, let's see, what is that? 3, 4, 5. That's 6 projects at once.
How do you keep it straight? How do you manage that all?
My brain bounces where it goes. And so if I'm not feeling one book, then I go write a couple chapters in another one. It just depends on what characters are speaking. And then I write it. And then if nobody is speaking, then I go do some editing.
Oh my gosh. Are you full-time?
A writer? No.
Yeah.
No, I have I have a real job. And then plus I have a 5 and 7-year-old. So
we talked about hubby. So, he probably wants
and
to time with you too.
Yeah.
Girl, I need your time management or something. So how do you find time to write? Like, what is your schedule? How do you get it all done?
I like to write. My husband tells me that I'm a antisocial clinger, so I like to be in his presence, okay. but I don't like to speak.
Antisocial clinger.
Yeah, apparently. So I like to be in the same room as him, but I don't actually want to acknowledge that he's there.
Maybe you can make that into a genre.
No, there you go. And so we'll watch a movie or something at night, and or he'll play a video game or something. He's not a gamer really. He just sometimes will goof off, and so I'll just sit on the couch with my laptop, and a lot of times I'll write. Sometimes I'll get a whole chapter. Sometimes I get a couple paragraphs.
Dang, so he can have a movie going or a video game, and you can still write. Total concentration.
Yeah, and then other times when it's a little harder, or the characters are whispering to me and they're not screaming at me, I'll be like, all right, I need quiet time tonight. I'm gonna sit upstairs at my writing desk, and then I'll just sit at my desk and write with nobody and nothing around.
You are so flexible and adaptive. It is blowing my mind, because you always hear this adage that you need to have a dedicated writing space and sit there and same time, same this. And you're like, no, I'm going to sit where I want. People, no people, noise, no noise. This project, that one. I'm just, I am in amazement at that.
Yeah, I go where I can. I mean, having kids is just there's no such thing as quiet. So I've just, and then I grew up, there was several siblings, and I was always the only reader in the family. I got it from my dad. And so I got really good at blocking all noise out. I don't even notice it. I could have people talking. Yeah, if I'm in the zone, I can have people talking to me and I no clue. None.
Managed chaos.
Yeah, I'm really good at that.
But, I think that is liberating for a lot of people, because you're saying, look, I get it done. I got kids. I have a full-time job. I have a, happy marriage. I'm no different than anyone else. And we always think, well, I have to have a dedicated time, and I can only do it, after the kids go to bed, or I can only do it here. And then, waking up at 4 in the morning and doing it. And you're saying, heck no, you can do it at soccer practice. You can do it when hubby's gaming or watching, a TV show.
Yeah, I just do it whenever it hits. Sometimes I'll be if we're riding in the car, or if I'm in the car by myself, I have a lot of voice memos if it just randomly hits me at the time, and then I'll just talk to my phone and record something. And then my husband makes fun of me when he listens to me blabber on trying to describe a scene or something, and he's like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, the mood hit and I was in traffic. Leave me alone. This was the safest way to do it.
No, I do love that. I dictate a lot because I don't know, it's when we're like in the shower or it's when you're like doing those monotonous things. Yeah, you get caught behind a train and so you just, do I stare at the cars? And then you just start to think because your mind wanders.
Mm-hmm.
I love using
Oh,
voice notes on my phone.
Yeah. I mood strikes all the time in the shower. And like, if there was the other day I was having writer's block and there was like, I knew where I needed to go in the chapter, but I couldn't figure out this like tiny little space of how to get there. And so I was like, I'm going to go take a shower. And so I got in the shower and just like closed my eyes and like pictured the characters. Like, what are they doing? How are they getting there? And I like acted it out in my head. And then I sat down and read it.
Oh, that's awesome. So what obstacles do you encounter now? You know, you're a published author, multi-published author. You got the writing, this amazing, varied writing style that I'm still like just envious of. So what do you encounter? What do you stumble on? What are your challenges?
I stumble on, well, I mean, all of us, I think, have confidence issues. Like you always assume, because I mean, you know, my numbers aren't big. And so it's easy to get wrapped up in the, oh, nobody buys my books. But, and then, so I think that's probably I guess my biggest obstacle is I guess imposter syndrome, I think is what it's technically called. But, so there's many times where I'm just like, I don't know why I do this. Like, there's no point. Nobody buys it. And then my husband always pulls up my ratings and like, they're all good. And he's like, who cares if they're small? They're good. The people who are reading it like it. And he's like, nobody gets like big on their first few books anyway. So he's like, at this point, just like do what you can.
He is such a sweetheart. I love hearing that. So supportive.
Yeah, he's a good one.
He's
I convinced him to let me. I convinced him to let me do the like ask your husband bookish questions.
I love those. Those are so funny what the husbands come up with.
I know, and I was asking him stuff, and there was a few of them where I asked him like, what does MMC and FMC stand for, and he knew it, and I was like, how did you? I was like, did you Google that? He goes, no, you told me once. I was like,
okay, so he is listening.
He does listen. I was like, I feel like
hearing, he's listening.
I was like, I just feel like I blabber on about stuff. So it's funny. So he does actually listen. He reads, but not like much.
I was gonna say, will he read your book all the way through? 125,000 is it's a project.
He read his all-time favorite book of mine is Will You Love Me Forever. He read it and loved it.
Aww.
He read Gabriel's book one, so he read Woman in the Forest. He struggles with the bisexual, not because he's like anti any of that. He's just like, not my thing.
I don't find this hot.
Yeah, he's like, no, this is not sexy to me. I don't necessarily want to read this.
Whereas obviously women are like, let's read it.
Yeah. I find that a lot of women are like, 2 guys? Okay, let's go. So he's not a big fan of those. But when I talk to him about things, he's just like, I don't know, but here's how I might react. I actually wrote, so book 4 in the Fated Love series is the main character is a military guy. And so my husband is ex-military. And so so it was kind of my like ode to him.
Yes.
So the guy is very much my husband in the book. And so I had to ask him a lot of questions. So my character.
We love that though, right? Like that is such a compliment.
Some of it. So the character deals with PTSD.
Ooh,
yeah.
Which
so it kind of gets into the dark.
A lot of our veterans do, which is so tragic.
Including my own.
Poor guy.
I know. And so there's some days or some months where it's like emotional roller coaster. So life gets in the way. It's like, take care of him. And so
Of course.
yeah. And so it becomes more, so like when I ask questions, I have to ask it in certain ways, especially if it's anything military related. But he's really cool about it. And he knows, like, I obviously am not intending anything.
Oh no, and tell him thank you for his service. I swear we don't do enough for veterans.
Oh, I know. I spoil him rotten when it comes to any of that kind of stuff. And he knows it. He even says I do. And so, well, like, so he was in like a part of Iraqi freedom.
Oh,
and so for my for my story, there's a scene where he, like, he loses his best friend, and during active duty and stuff like that. So in that scene, when I'm writing it, like, so they're in a jungle, and I did it on purpose because I could not bring myself to write a desert war scene.
No. That's too tough.
Well, that would, and that would be tough because, like, my husband was there, he dealt with it, and so it's like
too close.
So I trigger off on those, so I can't read them, so I couldn't write it. But I did put him in a jungle scene, so it's at least different. But yeah, so it was fun. He hasn't read it yet. I've been trying to talk him up into it, trying to find like a good month for him to read it.
Oh, bless his heart.
Yeah, so he's really sweet about giving me ideas, and he's like, oh, well, it's a military guy, this is what I would have done instead. And like, he was helping me with a lot of the terminology too, which was really cool, because like, I didn't know the difference between like a flak jacket and a tactical vest or a bulletproof vest.
No, I was calling someone I have a couple Marines in my life, and so I wrote a book, my very first debut novel, and I said something like soldier or something like that. Well, Marines are not soldiers, and when you're a civilian, you're like, I don't know, or we say like gun or rifle, and they're like, no, it's your weapon. Just all these little things. And so they helped me out a lot, because I was like, soldier. He's like, Marines aren't soldiers. That's the Army. And I'm like, oh.
Yeah. So there was some of that stuff too, where, I'll describe something. He'll be like, no, that's completely wrong. Here's how you would describe it.
Yeah.
That's what it's called. So it was kind of cool to see that side. Cause like you said, who would have known?
Oh, I think like when you write military, it is its own vocabulary. It's just like a whole other language. You better know, because people do read it. There's also like female servicemen. There's like two ladies that I talked to that one is over in Bahrain and one is in Abu Dhabi, and so they're in the service. And so I'll say something, they're like, girl, you are so dumb. That's not what we say.
Yeah, they have a whole different language too.
Totally different.
The way they like talk to each other is not like how civilians talk to each other.
Yeah, I was on a Zoom with them, and it is totally different. And even though they're two like females, and one's in the Navy, one's a Marine. But they read, and so we always think like the military and service are men, but there's so many women in it, and they're reading romance, and they want to read military romance. And let me tell you better get it right, because they will let you know.
Oh yeah, they really. Oh yeah, they will. Well, that's why I had my husband like read through some of it, or I'll ask him, like, is this correct? And he's like, yes, that is correct, because he was explaining flak jackets to me when I was trying to just like, because I just put like bulletproof vest, and he was like, no, that's not right. Like, so he was explaining what a flak jacket was and how you put in all the plates, and it has all the extra pockets to store like clips or magazines, and like even something as silly as like a clip versus a magazine, they're not the same.
Well, isn't it kind of fascinating? Like, I really like to learn about that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's so fascinating, and I didn't even realize that some of it was like so different. And so my guy and my story, he's what did I make him? I think I made him an Army Ranger, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was trying to figure out, I was like, oh, so he's special forces. My husband's like, no, that's not the same thing. Rangers are not special forces. And I was like,
yeah,
what? And he's like, no, it's so he had to go through like all the different things. He's like, they're not even slightly related.
no, I know what you're saying, because I have a friend who's career Marine, but he's recon. And I was like, well, what is recon? Like, I know the word reconnaissance, duh. But he's like, I can't tell you what half of the stuff is that we do in recon. I was like, well, is it like looking for like bad people? He goes, of course it is. And I was like, but you're in Virginia Beach.
Yeah.
Who are you looking for in Virginia Beach? He's like, oh my God, never change. He's like, you're the kind of people that we're protecting, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have one of my coworkers who started a few months ago. He was a like career Marine, and then he retired and decided he wasn't ready to be retired. So he
they can't. I feel like they end up like they retire from this career and they can't stay home.
No, so they
have
to start a brand new career.
Whole life has been told to them where to go, what to do, how to do, so like they just can't just dial in and go home. They always have like 2 or 3 careers, because my Marine recon guy, he has like 20 something years in the Marines, and he's like, he's already going to go into like private security, because, he can't not do nothing.
Yeah. Yeah. So this guy started, and I can't remember. I said something to him, and it was apparently very blunt and lots of potty words. And so all my coworkers were like, oh, well, let me like interpret her words for you. And I looked at them and was like, Marine, he gets it. And because I was like, I grew up with a military family too. So I was like, I know how to, and I live with a military person. Like, I was like, I know
I can speak
to this guy.
He's some military.
Trust me, I got this. And he was even laughing. We were talking the other day, and he's like, everyone is so nice. And he was like, you made me feel right at home though. Like, you just knew how to communicate, how to talk, how to break something down in a way that I would understand.
Yeah. That's so
I was like, I got you.
I got you. Well, I know that we are at an hour. Do you have time for rapid fire questions?
I do.
And they're different from last time.
Okay. I don't remember last time, so it's okay.
Okay, but now I got to put my glasses on because I can't read them. Okay. Do you edit during the writing process or after the first draft is completed?
I do minor edits during writing process, but like major edits where I like delete chapters, add scenes, that kind of thing, it's at the end.
At the end. Okay. Do you edit by hand or on a computer, like digitally?
Both. I like to edit all but the final draft on the computer, and then I will print it out, and then I do the final edits always on paper.
Oh, dang. That is so good. I started to do that at the beginning of my career, and I was like, and you see the mistakes, like they jump out on the page.
It's different.
Ooh.
It's a different perspective, and so it's a great way to try and get that, like, different
that's
perspective.
A lot of pages, man. 125,000 words.
It was a lot of paper.
I'm gonna print this at work.
Yeah.
That'll be a secret. I know. Do you prefer long chapters or short?
I like a blend. If I do a really long chapter, I like to try and do a couple of short chapters. As a reader, I don't like a whole bunch of long chapters, because sometimes it's like, okay, well, my kids interrupted me. I need to pause somewhere. Yeah. I hate pausing in the middle of chapters.
Oh, yeah.
So I like to mix it up. I sometimes will do long chapters. I try not to when I can. But, yeah, so if I do, I try to do a mix.
That makes sense. Writing conferences or writing workshops? Have you ever been to any? Do you plan to go?
I've never been to either. I don't actually know what either would be.
Like a conference? I know, like for romance, well, they have tons for fantasy, but you know, there's different writers conferences all over. You can go to like a workshop. They have breakout sessions where you can, you know, learn marketing or learn Amazon ads or learn, you know, writing craft.
Oh, no, I've never done either. I could use some help on the advertising.
And it's nice to, and you can also network with other people, other authors.
Cool.
I know. So maybe you can look some up if you are interested in your area. There's big and small ones, you know, huge conferences, and then little smaller ones, which are nicer because you're a little bit more intimate. And the cost is cheap.
Cool. Yeah, I have to look into that. I do have my first book signing. I got invited to a big, I don't know if it's big, but I got invited to my first like event.
Yeah.
It's in
Congratulations.
Maryland. Thanks. It's not until next May. So I have a year to buy stickers and order books.
Yep, table skirts and tchotchkes to give away, but that'll be exciting.
Yeah, my mother made my table runner because she was so excited.
Oh, Mama.
I know, she went to the store and bought fabric and like made me a table runner for my table.
That is so sweet.
Yeah,
you're so well supported. I love that. I love hearing.
I know.
That was my next one. Traditional book signings or virtual author events. You'll have your first one next May.
I do have my first one. I don't sell anything like on my own yet. It's all through Amazon. So I'm, you know, baby stepping into like I'll set up like a PO box and all that kind of stuff. So I'm not shipping out of my house.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you'll
and then
figure
I'll
out how to sell at the event.
Yeah, well, I'll have everything on site, and then I'll probably end up having to do all cash only. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, Venmo, Zelle, they have those too. I was a Girl Scout troop leader for a number of years, and we, you know, it was supposed to be like all cash, and then everybody's like, do you have Venmo or Zelle? And I'm like, sure, just send it to me.
Well, I use a
not
pen name
supposed to
too.
sell Girl Scout cookies that way, okay? I just want to let you know.
I wouldn't know. Well, I mean, I use a pen name too, so I have to like hide behind my like pen name. Yeah, so I can't exactly use all my real name stuff.
Oh yeah, you got homework.
Yeah, I know. I've been looking it up and tracking everything, so that's always fun.
Okay, writing morally gray characters or characters with clear-cut morals.
I like morally gray. I like a guy who, you know, will mostly follow the rules, aside from, you know, if you mess, like kind of the touch her and die trope. I like those. So yeah, they're all a little bit questionable in their morals. They would definitely murder somebody for their love interests.
We're fine with that in books.
Yes. Sure. Yes. Only in books.
Only in books. Creating relatable characters or creating enigmatic characters.
Ooh. You're testing my vocabulary. All right. Explain enigmatic for me.
Oh, where they're like mysterious. You don't give a whole lot of backstory. Their intentions aren't really explained. It's kind of hard to find their character arc. Maybe you don't know a whole lot about them. You don't write a whole lot. So in my book, my first book, Tomlin Takahashi, you don't know hardly anything about him. I intentionally wrote him where he's like this big old mystery, and then his story unfolds in the second book because it's a duet.
I am excited for his duet. So I guess a little bit of both. I do tend to write more relatable characters, although I do have a few where it's like a little questionable. So in Will You Love Me Forever, that's one of the big questions is like, what is he? So like you sort of meet him, but not really until it gets later in the story and you start to learn his backstory.
Oh, so kind of both.
Yeah, so it's a little bit of both. I also, one of my whips is I'm trying out a new technique. It's the false narrator.
Oh, yeah. Girl, of course you're trying a new technique. Of course.
I couldn't help it. Well, the female lead was driving me crazy. She was just awful and flat, and I couldn't figure out like like, I can't have you know what or who she is yet.
Yeah.
And so I was talking to my author friend. I was like, I don't know how to write her. Like, I hate her, and I need people to like her. And I need the twist when she reveals who she really is to be like, nobody saw it coming. Yeah. And so then she was like, false narrator. So that required a little.
Good.
So we'll see how that one turns out.
I know. I'm
It's like,
going to be intrigued.
my first attempt with that one. So I guess both would be the answer to the question.
Okay, last one. Characters with tragic flaws or characters with hidden strengths?
That's a tough one. Probably, I don't know. I don't even know which way I would lean. Maybe both again, but
probably both, because I love tragic flaws because people are flawed. But then, we have hidden strengths, and then we somehow overcome them as part of our character arc.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, both. I don't know. It's just goes back to the relatable characters. It's just they speak to how they want to go.
And you're dictating the whole time.
Yeah,
they can dictation like a court reporter.
Yeah, I write down their story. They tell me what to do.
I love that. Well, it has been so good catching up with you as always. I want to hear more in the fall, so we'll have to do this again because I want to hear about your next book, because that'll be the Immortal Traveler book 2, right? It will be book 2. So I'm very, very excited for that one. It's because book 1, we're in fantasy world, and then so book 2 we get to meet, because she's an angel, so then we get to meet like her world and her and our world, and it's kind of interesting. And so it dives a lot into the darker side of immortality. Bring it, let's go. Yeah, so I'm pretty excited for that one, because everybody she knows dies, so it kind of dives into the darker side of what it means to be immortal. Ooh, and if you had that around Halloween, oh, that's a good idea. Well, it's not really like super dark. No, but you know how like all the dark and like mysterious, and I feel like the month of October, like all the dark stuff comes out. It's just like darkest. Yeah, exactly. Yes, it is very, very and dark. Then we're all like, oh, but it's October. It can be. Yeah. Like Christmas starts in November, and we're just like, of course. And that, to me, though, all the October are all like your darkest romance series are launched, so yeah, maybe that's true. You can swing it, because marketing wise that would be really fun. That's true. That is a clever twist. Well, book 3, I think it's book 3 is the darkest so far in the series. Book 4 is kind of dark too. We'll just worry about those later. Yeah, they get to be future. Those are future tomorrow's Kris problems. Yeah. Exactly. Well, like I said, you are such a doll. I always enjoy catching up with you. You have so much going on, so much that our people that have watched can learn from you. And I swear, I cannot wait to see where you go, because this is just so fun and exciting to be on the journey with you. Thank you so much. Yeah, I loved having you, being here again. Oh my gosh, my words. I'm better at writing them. We can write them, but we can't always say them. No, words are hard. It was a pleasure as always. I will catch you in the DMs. Have a great summer. All right, you too. Bye-bye.